maybe trigger warn. Should I warn people? No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to jump in. All right. Some of you may or may not know this, but I am a registered Republican.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
In 2015, I thought about it. I said, what would happen if everyone listening to my voice showed up and voted Republican and voted for anybody but Trump? Because I thought he could win. And I thought if we didn't do something dramatic, he would win the nomination. And if he won a nomination, I thought he could win the general. Now, we can argue about, whether he won the electoral college versus the popular vote. He did not win the popular vote. Hillary, in a landslide, won the popular vote. But we unfortunately live in a country where one man, one vote, it really doesn't count like that. It's an electoral college system that is rooted in slavery. But we can put that over there because it's not going anywhere until we make it different by electing different people to Congress. That's another story for another day. But today I was thinking about my move and how badly I got cussed out by people for asking folk to, register as Republicans. Why did I do that? Well, Hillary Clinton at the time was basically running unopposed. There was really nobody else. It was Bernie Sanders, of course. But in my estimation, whether it was Hillary or Bernie, at least those two people would have policies that wouldn't harm us per se, or at least we could protest them. So what was important was that the Republicans didn't get in with a person like Trump. And, I thought Hillary could beat all of the other Republicans except for this guy. So now I'm in Jersey. I live in New Jersey. I'm from Jersey, born in Orange Memorial Hospital. Grew up in East Orange, New Jersey. Shout out to EO. Somebody just emailed me. I'm a Scotty. Went to Clifford Scott. Shout out to Clifford Scott, East Orange High School, all of the people. And there's a gubernatorial race. We've had on Mikey Sherrill last week. We've had on Steve Fulop. We've, of course, talked with Ross Baraka. Sean Spiller reached out. He's like, can I come on? I'm like, yes. But I'm a registered Republican. When is he going to come on, Smith? Monday? Okay, he'll be on Monday, right? So, and I'm doing this not because, Jersey's the most important state, but I also want to mirror what it should look like or, model what it should look like to ask questions and invite people in. And I also want to, who's going to come if asked, who's not going to come. Everybody's been asked and shown up. And I'm like, okay. Now I'm a registered Republican. Now, I contemplated registering as a Democrat because you can change your party affiliation. And what that does in a closed primary state, not all states are closed primary states. You can only vote in a primary if you're in a closed primary state, which New Jersey is. You can only vote in a primary of which you're registered. So as a registered Republican, I can only vote for a Republican in the New Jersey primary. I can change my party affiliation to vote for the Democrat, but I made a decision not to. Why? Because whomever wins the primary coming out of the Democratic Party, I'm confident that they don't hate my liberation and my rights. I'm confident that they will be fighting against this tyranny. Because we've talked to them, right? And at the very least, they can be pressed into service. They can be pressed into being protested if they behave a certain kind of way. Now, I'm going to juxtapose this to the New York City mayoral race. If I were in New York and if New York were a closed primary state and it happened to be ranked voting and it was something completely different, but if it was a normal New York race and you had Eric Adams and Maya Wiley and all, Ray McGuire and all these people running and Curtis Sliwa, who ended up being a Republican, if you had Curtis Sliwa versus these people, I would register as a Democrat. Why? Because in that ranked voting situation, and there was no strategy. Clearly, I knew Eric Adams would be a disaster. Why did I know that? Because I've been around a while. I know some things. I was like, no, he cannot be mayor. But that's exactly what happened. So I would register as a Democrat and make sure that he would not be on any of my ballots if it's ranked voting. But if it were a straight up thing, no, I'm going to vote. We're going to vote this kind of way because we need to have somebody go up against Curtis Lewa, who's not going to be a disaster. New York City is a mostly Democratic city. It's a Democrat's probably going to win. It has to be the right Democrat, because we need things done a certain kind of way. We don't need somebody who's constantly embroiled in some sort of damn chaos and drama because he's got so many things going on, allegedly, that at any point in time he could bend the knee to anything. But Jersey's not that, at least not yet, and it could be. So I got a letter from one of the Republican, and there are 5 people running on the Republican side. I got a letter from the wife of one of the candidates. His name is John Bramnick, Barmnick, Plainfield, New Jersey. Went to Syracuse, attended Hofstra. So his wife wrote a lovely letter about her husband and all of the good things he's going to do. And I was like, I don't want you to win, but I also don't want Ciattarelli. I don't want Ciattarelli to win. He is a MAGA Republican. True and true. Jack Ciattarelli, I'm going to say his name. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but it shit's right there. So that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I don't want him to win. So where is my power as a voter? Where do I have the most power? Most of us go into the booth and we, pick the people that we know or like. Some of us do the homework beforehand and we look at the people's policies and, try to vote for someone that most aligns. Most people don't do that, though. So stop. Maybe Urban View listeners, but most of y'all, you go in, I know this name, and you pull a lever, and maybe you don't even show up for the primary, right? Which is they're banking on that too, right? So most people do not show up for primaries. But what would happen if in New Jersey and all these other states, we over-indexed in the primaries? And what would happen if we over-indexed in a very strategic way? So I'm toying with this. I still have a little smidge of time. But I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to vote for somebody that could either come out of the primaries surprisingly, which I think would be my best bet, but somebody that I don't think is like a MAGA Republican. Because at the time when we were doing the Party Link in 2015, it was Kasich, who was from Ohio. And I had done my research on him and talked with Nina Turner, who was in the state legislature, and she'd worked with him. She said he was, decent human being. He wasn't like Trump at all. Wasn't even a crazy, he was somebody that could work with, pass legislation that actually helped all people. I said, even if he won, beat Hillary, which I didn't think he could, he at least would be somebody that we could, again, work with, because these politicians are not our little friends. These politicians are servants. They serve us, but only if we push them into service. We have to do something, and that means we have to show up differently. So I'm thinking about this. If you're listening to the show for the first time, you weren't around in 2015 or 2016, we were talking about Party of Lincoln. And then it got hijacked by the Lincoln Project at some point. And I'm saying it that way because there was somebody that was regularly on my show that was also part of founding the Lincoln Project and not inviting none of us in that looked like us. That was the whole point. I said, oh, y'all playing in our faces. So I abandoned it because I was like, what you not going to do? But I'm sitting here today and I said, okay. When people say my vote doesn't count, I actually believe your vote counts greatly. When your vote, my vote, his vote, her vote, their vote, all of the votes, and we kind of move like a block, like some people move as a unit. Can we move as a unit? So in Jersey, is it more advantageous for me, my vote, to cast in a party alignment that no matter who emerges from that, they're not probably going to harm us? Or is it more advantageous for me to cast a vote against somebody that will absolutely harm us? I made that decision that I think is better for me to do that for us. What are your thoughts? 866-801-8255. So I'm thinking Ross Baraka, if he wins on the Democratic side, I'm good. Fam, hey, what's up? If Mikey Sherrill wins, we're good. If we had Fulop on, former mayor of Jersey City, absolutely good. I don't know Josh. Josh hasn't been on. Josh for Jersey. I see his sign everywhere. I think he's okay. Sean Spiller, who will be on Monday, mayor of Montclair, one of the most diverse cities in the entire country. I think we'll be okay. So I'm looking at, hedging the bets. And I was thinking today, how many of us do we actually think strategically before we vote? Or is it impulse? Or is it tribal? Or is it, I like this person, I like their name? Do we know what they stand for? Have we studied their cities? Especially in this case, there's a lot of former mayors and mayors, Mikey Sherrill's in Congress. So, have we looked at what the way in which they voted on different things? Do we know even? And I feel like those of you who are educators, this is a good kind of assignment or exercise to do with your class to instill a sense of civic engagement. If everybody lives somewhere, if you are a school teacher right now, why don't you, I know they've done mock elections before, but really, having the students look and debate the issues and actually have a conversation about what is needed in your particular community, it should start young. We have so much that we can do in this time and not just complain. And not that we're doing that, because I think there is room to complain. There's a lot of room to point fingers. There's a lot of room to legislate what happened in the past. But this is a power play that I've been thinking about bringing back to the forefront as we move towards a midterm election even. The primaries are going to become so important if we double down on the primaries. And I have an opportunity in New Jersey to see what that might look like. I don't know how many of you listening are in Jersey, but what would it look like to change your party affiliation to Republican, show up for, say, this guy, John Bram? We all do John Bramnick. It won't work if you decide I'm going to do Bill Spadia or I'm going to do Mario Konjak. I'm going to do Justin Barbera. It's not going to work if everybody's doing their own thing. And I know it's hard because we're individuals, but I see sometimes when we're trying to get a hashtag trending, people always try to remix the hashtag, not understanding that your addition of a single word in that hashtag dilutes the power of the hashtag. You trying to do your own thing takes the power away from us making a bigger statement. This is a time when our individual pursuits, we're going to have to re-examine what it means to be part of a citizenry, what it means to be part of a community. And it does mean that you might have to, not have to, but you get to be a part of something as opposed to standing alone. So I'm offering that, as the way I thought about it when I got the letter from John Bramnick's, because I'm registered as Republican, so I get all of the paraphernalia, I get all of the stuff, and I did it mostly to see, what are they offering, in terms of like how are they canvassing, and it is quite different, by the way. I haven't gotten anything from because I'm not registered as a Democrat, but if I were a Democrat, I would still canvass. Even people that I might not know are Democrats, I would still canvass. I would put out my literature everywhere, and I feel like enough of that's not being done. But I digress, and I'm wondering if people are, because it was almost a violent reaction that I got when I first offered this in 2015. I feel like over time, those of you who have been rocking with me since 2014 and beyond, you kind of understand that this is not me, running out here to align with something, because as I've said many times today, and maybe it's always been this way, Democrats and Republicans, those D's and R's don't have as much meaning as it maybe did in the 50s and 60s, or, when the Southern Strategy came about, as the switch went from the Confederate flag waving Democrats into those people became Republicans with a purpose because they were there to preserve their whiteness. That was the push, the Southern Strategy. But today, when you think about Republicans, it is inundated with the MAGA And MAGA's not even a political ideal. It is an oppressive ideal. I don't even want to call it a cult, but I do think people who are aligned with this kind of thought don't care about anybody but their tribe. As Shiloh Hendricks said, it's time to tribe up, and I'm saying no. It's time. It's time to do something different. Let's make sure everybody eats. 866-801-8255. That doesn't take food off your plate. Matter of fact, a full belly over there means that maybe they're not looking to take something from you when everyone has.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will